Chapter 9. Zoey sat on the bike in front of the hotel after Tracker put the kickstand down. It was one of the fancy expensive hotels she thought Bo would take her to one day, but the only place he would bring her is the back of his rusted-out trailer in a broken-down bed which had seen too many rough nights. The place had belonged to his father, a notorious womanizer, who never got enough of beating his frustrations and failures out on women he loved or thought he loved. After seeing his father beat women and treat them poorly, it became natural that his son would become the same man, and he did, only much worse. "Are you going to sit on the bike all night? You must be tired and hungry," Tracker asked, picking her up and placing her on her feet. "What's the matter?" "I've never been to a place like this." Zoey smiled and hunched her shoulders. She paused to look up. It was a second-rate Hilton Inn. Not one of the best in this isolated part of Nevada, but one that would impress Zoey. Tracker took her by the hand and led her into the lobby. He had remembered to pack his gold card Hunter gave his employees. Reaching inside his knapsack, he pulled it out along with a few $100s. He never needed money until now. And that's when he realized that $200 wouldn't be enough to buy clothes for Zoey and food. And they needed shelter for her. He could sleep out in the woods in a makeshift cave. Humans are delicate, he remembered his father saying about his mother. And women need so many things to make them happy, Lysel had said to him to discourage him against humans. You can't just bring them to a cave the way you can with a werefemale and expect them to sleep on a floor with a rug. Even they don't want that anymore. The werefemales had become just like humans. And then Tracker thought of Sadia. He quickly dismissed the thought of her. He had to remember that he was trying to forget her. Adrienne tried to explain to her sons the importance of having those little credit cards and to keep money on them like humans. Only now did he realize that he would need money, and a lot of it. Living with Hunter and his parents in Samseville, he just charged whatever he wanted, and he didn't want that much. He didn't need anything. It was there for all of them. When he got his key and took the stairs, they reached the room. Tracker opened the door and stared at Zoey. "Are you coming in?" She stood staring at the room as if it was a birthday gift she had always wanted. She walked slowly in, looked around with a wide smile, and then she rushed to the bed and bounced on it as if she was a child on a trampoline. Zoey looked around, kicked off her shoes and dropped her clothes to the floor. "I'm taking a long bath. Tomorrow can you buy me some clothes?" "Anything you want. I'll order something to eat. Take as long as you want in the bath." "What do you want?" "Chicken tenders and fries. I always wanted to know it, they taste different in a hotel than from the diner." "Is that all?" "If you can afford it. I'd like a piece of cheesecake too." "I can afford it," Tracker said in a soft voice with a smile, and he called for room service, and then he reached in his knapsack and pulled out his smartphone. He pushed a button and Thorn answered. "Where the fuck are you, Tracker? Mother is upset, Robert is furious, and Wilder left in a huff. Was all this because of me?" "I think so." "Well, fuck it. They can't live my life and I can't live theirs." "But you didn't have to leave the way you did. You didn't say goodbye to any of us. Where are you going?" "I think to Mexico for a short time. Until I can lose my girl's husband." "You have a girl and she has a husband?" Thorn's voice raised. "That doesn't sound like a good mixture." "Let me take care of that. It doesn't concern you." But Thorn thought it did concern him and the pack. Leaving home didn't remove him from his responsibilities to them, and Thorn's responsibilities to Tracker, because Tracker was his alpha. "Tracker, I want to go with you." Thorn thought Tracker would need him. It wasn't good for him to travel alone in the humans' world. He needed backup, and Thorn and Damon needed their pack leader. "Don't. You have to be there to protect Mother." That's not my job, that's our father and uncle's responsibility. Hunter and Devon are here to help. I don't see why I have to be here too. Just do as I say. If I think it's okay for you to come, then I'll contact you. Stay close to your phone and don't tell Damon. You know how he is? He will tell Father and Uncle Wilder, and then Mother will be upset. She's already upset with you leaving. Thorn thought it was Tracker that Adrian was upset over, but it was the interaction between her and Wilder. When Tracker hung up the phone, Zoey was still in the tub. Tracker eased out of his tight leather jeans, which had shrunk from being out in the rain. He felt free when he dropped them on the floor and headed for the shower. Passing the tub, he saw Zoey with her head lolling to the side. She was asleep. Tracker picked her up and she remained that way. Now in the light of the room, he saw the hidden bruises on her breasts and stomach. How could a man do that to a female? Zoey was tiny, about 101 pounds, and she was 5 feet 5 tall, if that. He felt humane because he had saved her. Gently, he laid her on top of the comforter and let her sleep. And, turning, he headed for the shower. He had heard that if you take a cold shower and go for a run, that would soothe his thoughts and ease his longing for sex. Taking a cold shower did nothing for him. When he stepped out of the shower, the bell rang, and he thought it was the waiter bringing up food. He strutted to the door naked. It was natural for him. He felt proud of his body and took every opportunity to show it off. It was second nature to him to be naked. Lysel and Adrian had cautioned him not to run around naked, especially when the servants were around. Humans frowned on this and there were laws. They tried to warn him. When he opened the door, it was a woman standing in front of him. "Bring the food in." "I don't know if I should," she said wide-eyed. He followed her eyes down to his groin and realized that he was naked. He rushed to the bathroom and pulled down a white robe with an emblem on the pocket and threw it on. The waitress entered carrying a large tray and set it on a table next to the television. "You were lucky the cook was closing up for the night," the waitress said, looking to make sure everything was on the tray. The steak wasn't a problem. When she looked up, Tracker was standing before her. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you," he said, tying the belt to the robe around his waist. She handed him the bill to sign and said with a smile, "I'm not sorry." As she took the food off the tray to set it on the table, Zoey started walking out of the bathroom after combing her hair. Apparently she had found a robe when she heard the bell and smelled the food. She called out, "Tracker. I smell food." And she walked into the room with the king bed. "What are you doing here?" the waitress asked. Zoey froze. Her hands to her side and flexing her hands open and shut nervously. "It's none of your business. Just leave the food and go," Zoey said to her as she breathed out and in, then inhaling and exhaling as she paced, nervously waiting for the waitress to leave. The waitress took a hard look at Zoey as she waited for Tracker to sign for the food and add her tip. Then she left with a wide smile. "We have to go from here, Tracker. That's Beau's old girlfriend, and I think he has taken up with her again. She's going to tell him." Her breathing became shallow as if she would faint. "She hates me, and I can tell by the way she was looking at you that she wished she was in my shoes." Zoey's voice broke. "I'm not going anywhere. Eat your food and get some rest. You're with me now. No one can hurt you. I won't let them." Zoey sat eating, looking at Tracker. What a fine-looking man he is, she thought. The only problem was he wasn't a man in the traditional sense, but she didn't know that. All she knew was that he had the biggest cock, arms like steel, a face and body few men are lucky to have, but he could die if Beau found them. If she went back, all Beau would do would punish her. She could stand that because she had gotten used to his beatings. But she couldn't stand him killing Tracker. She knew that to prevent her face from swelling, she needed lots of ice. And when she had cried too much, she needed eye drops to prevent the redness. So far he hadn't broken any bones, but that was next, she thought. After dinner, Zoey fell asleep at the table, and Tracker picked her up, placed her on the bed, and took a jog in the woods behind the hotel. After a run, he returned to find her still asleep, and he crawled in behind her and pulled her to him. When Zoey woke, she lay in Tracker's arms. He woke at the same time. She sat up quickly, realizing where she was. "We need to go. You promised to buy me some clothes. There's a Walmart nearby," she said, rushing to zip up her wrinkled, soiled uniform. She slid on a pair of dirty white uniform shoes, picked up her coin purse that contained her night's tips. Those tips kept on the lights and water at the trailer, and paid for a Saturday night at the local bar for beer and pool for Beau. She never knew what he did with his money he made at the paper mill. She did know he put most of it into keeping his old truck running, and his motorcycle, and buying guns. Tracker didn't say a word. He reached for his knapsack and pulled out a change of clothes. A pair of jeans and a blue jean shirt. "I need to pick something up too." It only took a few minutes for them to check out. The bill would be sent to Hunter, who would get around to taking it out of his middle-of-the-month check. His last check working for Hunter. When they reached his motorcycle, he lifted her over it and he climbed on. Looking over his shoulder, he said, "I'm thinking of going to Mexico. Want to come with me?" Turning facing the road, he started the bike, and she hugged him around his waist, and he took off roaring down the road and into the parking lot of the Walmart. Stopping at the back near the garden center, he reached inside his pocket and handed her his card. "Buy what you need. I'll wait for you." Sitting on the bike, Tracker had time to think. Did he really want to deal with a woman he would be tied to, and sooner or later he would have to leave her? His plans didn't involve a human that was married. His plans were simple. Travel from town to town, see the country, and fuck his way from Samsonville to Mexico to Arizona to Texas, and maybe to New York, then decide what he wanted to do next. Now his plans had changed. Hampered by a married female who looked and acted helpless. This wasn't him. He could walk out on Sadia and he wanted her, but why not Zoey?